Okay, welcome back to my critical analysis of heroes. This is part two. In the previous part, I discussed the flaws and the strengths of season one, season two of Heroes. I want to quickly add a little addendum to that. I mentioned that season two is the start of Heroes becoming more comic booky, when in fact I should bring up episode 20. I think episode 20 of season one, 5 years gone, when we see the future, if New York had been destroyed, and we see kind of where the characters are after that. And that episode was probably actually the beginning of it, or the hint of comic bookiness. I wish I could phrase that somehow better. That Heroes had. You had Hiro, this kind of like terrorist, had a katana, wielding a katana. It was a little unbelievable. But at the time you rolled with it, it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was Heroes having fun, and you went with it. I also want to address season two. I mentioned season two having problems with, say, Nikki dying. This is once you've seen past season two, you know why. Because Nikki, Dale, Micah have almost no bearing on the series whatsoever. From that point onward, it's such a waste when you consider how much screen time Nikki and Dale and Micah have in season one, and how essentially nothing pans out from that. It makes rewatching that season kind of very tedious because nothing of it matters. Same thing with, say, season two with Alejandro and Maya. Syra kills Alejandro, but Maya basically stays on the show for season three, and she contributes nothing. I think it was said in some interview, or it was implied, that Maya was supposed to be the counter agent to the virus that was introduced in season two. That in the projected storyline where they wanted to take season two, where the virus is unleashed and infects everybody like a little epidemic. Maya's ability was supposed to counteract it. Anyway, the virus wasn't unleashed, therefore Maya is inconsequential. And in fact, we see her just leave the show pretty quietly, like halfway through volume 3. So yeah, that brings me to season 3. Season 3 is the first season that was more than one volume. Heroes did actually treat itself like a comic book, I suppose, or it splits itself into volumes. So we have seasons, but in those seasons are volumes. So there are 4 seasons overall, but actually 5 volumes. Heroes season 3 is 2 volumes. The first is Villains, volume 3, and then volume 4, Fugitives. Whereas volume 1 for season 1 was Genesis, season 2 is Generations. Anyway, Villains. Oh man, Villains. Where do I start with the problems Villains introduces into Heroes? Because for the one thing, I think I understand why they approached the series this way. I mentioned that the first 2 seasons were slow. They had a lot of build-up, and sometimes the payoff was less than expected, or underwhelming. Season 3 kind of hits the ground running. It is it's very energetic, very bombastic. A lot of things happen, but it's almost as if, I don't know, so many things happen, but there's so little significance behind it, and a lot of the plot lines that are introduced, a lot of the characters just don't carry any weight. Villains revolves around some of the company's captive specials, people with abilities. Some of the most dangerous ones, they escape. Cyber gets his abilities back. He starts killing people again. In the beginning, the first episode is pretty cool, but it introduces like future Peter, future Claire, and we learn that Peter killed, or he was the one who shot Nathan. He tried to assassinate Nathan so that people wouldn't find out about this. And the reason being is that because they did, the world ends. Yeah, that I left a little pause in there because it's kind of mind-boggling how Heroes does this. The first 2 seasons had a sort of cataclysmic event that would lead to some sort of, it would have huge ramifications. Season 3 kind of goes with this, but it never builds on it, which is probably the first problem with season 3. Is that future Peter tells us if everybody knows about abilities, they all get abilities, and then the world ends. Why does the world end? We don't know. It's never explained. We just know one day the world literally cracks in half because someone paints it. Um, Another plotline that's brought up is how Ando will kill Hito in the future because Ando gets abilities, and he actually does. That does happen, but it's never explained how he kills Hito. What makes this worse is that this scene is kind of like hand waved, and it's basically hand waved throughout the entirety of the series. Later on in the other volumes, people are all like, well, is Hito dead? Well, of course he can't be dead. Ando's gonna kill him. Oh, that's right. And everybody just kind of laughs about it. It's silly. Um, God, what else? What else is wrong with season 3? Okay, another silly story is that Mohinder gets abilities. Um, I should note that I don't like Mohinder at all. He's probably one of my least favorite characters on the show. It doesn't really contribute to anything. He had a role in season 1, and it was just, oh my god, I couldn't take him. Can't really tolerate his character that much. Anyway, yeah, then he gives himself abilities, and then we get this sequence that some people claim is an homage to The Fly. Uh, maybe that was the intent, but it comes off more as a ripoff. Like it literally follows the exact same plotline. He injects himself with ability with the serum or whatever, gives himself abilities. At first, it's great. He has superpowers. He's all like dark and brooding, and he's like a different character. And then he turns into like a monster, or he starts to turn into a monster. And this is one of the things that Villains tries to do. It tries to give the characters different no, excuse me. It tries to provide different angles of which to view the characters. It tries to take its characters in places where they haven't gone before. So, for example, Mohinder kind of becomes evil, Peter kind of becomes evil, and then Sylar, the most remorseless son of a bitch that the series has seen so far, starts to become like this sympathized, humanized character, and none of it really works. And worst of all, and then Sylar is revealed to be like a Petrelli. Of course, this is retconned like later on, but the point is that it's just season 3 has all of these ideas, and they're all less and less conceivable as it goes on. Like it becomes so comic booky, like I mentioned. Like season 2 is the beginning, season 3 takes it full force, just completely in that direction, and it does not do the series any good. It's just it's a mess. Now add to this that basically characters are introduced. We have like Daphne. I think they're dropped. Adam Monroe and Elle are quickly killed off. What else? Yeah, Maya. Like I said, Maya leaves. Everything that season 2 added to the show is essentially destroyed. We get Arthur Petrelli, Peter and Nathan's father, is revealed to be the big bad, and he steals all Peter's powers, and he becomes essentially like this unstoppable character who, every time some character makes some headway into a plot, like Arthur Petrelli like just teleports there and says, "Hey, but I'm gonna take your power," and takes the power, and then he leaves them, whatever. It's silly. Another stupid plotline season 3 introduced was with Matt's plotline, where he starts. Oh no, that wasn't until volume 4. Excuse me, until Fugitives. I'll get to that. But then Matt, or does it happen? Where Matt has like some sort of dream where he sees himself, and he and Daphne are having some sort of relationship, and then Matt spends the entire volume trying to convince Daphne that they're in love. And it's so stupid. Jesus Christ. I mean, I know I said I would be unbiased, but it's hard, volume 3 in particular, I should say, does so much bad. Like it really does just so much wrong. The characters flop so much. Like I said, like they try to redeem Sylar. They try to make Sylar to be a good guy, and it doesn't really work. They try to make Elle was like this kind of sadistic sort of like this sort of like innocent sadistic character who was sort of like very childish in her own way, and they make her like this kind of like whatever it is she needs to be at the time. And then she and Sylar have a romance despite Sylar having killed her father, Bob Bishop. Oh my god, it's just a mess. Such a mess. Add to this that season 3 has this weird arc, and I think in the middle of it or near the end, called the Eclipse arc, where the eclipse comes and all the characters lose their abilities, and then the eclipse passes and they get their abilities back, and you're kind of left wondering like, what was the point of that? So season 3 has just problem after problem after problem. It has all these different storylines that don't contribute anything. Why does future Peter want to stop? How do all the people having abilities lead to the world ending? The world literally, cracking in half. It's never explained. It's never addressed. Damn it. Okay, so yeah, I apologize. I got a little heated there, but for good reason because again, not season three, volume three of Heroes, it's just stupid. I mean, stupid storylines aside, it's badly paced, badly written. Characters flop, plotlines are dropped, thrown away, repurposed. The whole thing is a mess. It is a gigantic mess. Um, I can appreciate to an extent what the writers maybe were trying to do, which was give us different angles from which to view the characters, give us different ways to appreciate the characters, try to set up some sort of good versus evil conflict. But it doesn't work, and it is just a mess. It's no surprise that when Fugitives comes along, Volume 4, second half of Season 3, that there are so many attempts to try to move away from it. Um, Honestly, it's like they try to forget that all that stuff ever happens. Uh, but Fugitives is not perfect. Um, Fugitives is almost just as comic booky. There's this sort of sense, the general concept is that the government, Nathan Petrelli goes to the president, says we got to round up everybody. So they initiate this program. You have this guy named Danko, the hunter. Noah helps him out, and they go around hunting everybody. They're just tranking all the specials, taking them into custody, and basically the whole plot is everybody kind of on the run from the government. That's comic booky. It's not really realistic. It's just a bunch of government agents going after everybody. While this is happening, Siler is looking for his father, for the connection. We still have this sort of attempt to humanize Siler, but he's largely like evil, I guess. He's a villain for the most part in this volume, which he should be. Siler's always at his best when he's just killing people, chopping up in skulls, causing trouble. And but Fugitives is a decent effort to try and make up for what happened in Volume 3. It's by no means perfect, but it's a decent effort. Um, it also features a meaningful end to Micah. Micah, who we hadn't seen since the beginning of Volume 3. He comes out in Volume 4 as the character Rebel. And we get some decent interplay between him and Tracy Strauss. They do a decent job with him as a character. They kind of good send off, but of course we never see him again. It's a little. It's like I appreciate it at the same time, but he doesn't stay on the show. Again, it's just another character who disappears, and you're left wondering like, what's the point? What's the point? What Fugitives does do a decent job at is some development on the part of Nathan, Peter, Angela, Claire, basically the Petrellis and Siler, and the final kind of game changer where Siler takes control. He kind of the last two episodes where he's doing with his shape shifting problems, and he usurps Danko as the big bad of the volume was very satisfying to watch, and it actually was very compelling. It was finally like some sort of quick dynamic. Something was going on, something strong was happening in terms of the writing. And Peter and Nathan try to stop Siler in that last episode. Fugitives ends with a very kind of controversial decision on the part of the writers. Siler kills Nathan, but then Angela and Noah devise a plan to turn Siler into Nathan, which they do with the help of Matt Parkman, and that sets up season 4, volume 5. At the time when I saw it, I thought that plot twist was a little weird. I didn't like it, but I came to appreciate it. Actually, it seemed like a decent way to keep Nathan on the show. I mean, Nathan was dead finally, but it was right. Rewatching the show has given me a different kind of light on that particular situation. But yeah, that's largely season 3. Again, season 3 is just not perfect. It has a lot of problems. Volume 3, again, Villains was a mess. Volume 4, Fugitives, did some good. It tried to repair the damage, but in the process, it didn't work out, It was more grounded, This is true. But, again, it was still comic booky. You still had the government going after everybody. There's some weird sequences, like Peter and Matt infiltrating a building using Matt's ability. Oh my god, how could I forget Coyote Sands? Yeah, the one episode I skipped when I was rewatching Volume 4. Yeah, Coyote Sands, 1961 or 1969, whatever that episode was. Oh god, that episode. A mythology episode meant to explain the origins of the company. Revealing that Mohinder's father, Chandra, had already discovered people with abilities. God, it's so stupid. And then they find Angela's sister, and she's like still alive after all these years, and she's crazy, and she's in this bunker, and she disappears, and you're just like, what? What in the world? God, oh my God, weird decisions, honestly weird decisions, and it kind of strikes me as strange. Like, I think one of the writers of season one, Brian Fuller, I think it was. Everybody's always talking about him. He lended, he was one of the big reasons that season one was so successful in terms of its writing, and then he leaves the show, and we get all this nonsense. Oh my God. But anyway, season three is certainly the low point of Heroes. I don't think you'll find anyone who will say that any other season of Heroes is worse than season three. Season three is just a big mess, a absolute mess. And it was basically the death blow. Uh, I'll end this part of the discussion with that, with the problem with season three, and the next part will tackle season four, volume five, aptly titled Redemption. Uh, what the good and the bad of that season, Heroes' final season, um, and also my final thoughts on Heroes, what I think about it, overall. But yeah, season three takes the cake. Just bad, bad. Stupid, bad and stupid. Worse. But what can you do? I mean, there were some okay ideas somewhere in there. I think bringing back Arthur Bertoy was an okay idea, just executed poorly. Killing off Adam Monroe, killing off Elle, killing off all the season two characters, or was just absolutely ridiculous, stupid. Again, because nothing pans out in Heroes. Here you'll find that Heroes is one of the worst offenders in terms of drop plots. It's just bad, It makes it hard to care. Makes it hard to care. You start watching the show, you're more interested in just. It's interesting in the sense that you want to see what happens, but you're not. Yeah. Again, you turn your brain off, and you start to realize that Heroes is no longer intelligent. Heroes is just episode to episode, a mashup of different plots, different characters, just kind of messily thrown together, and none of it has any consequence. And it's a shame. It's a shame. So, again, if you're interested, join me on the next part of the discussion where we'll tackle season four, Redemption. Thanks.